Hey, good morning. It's Mike Zschunke at Berkshire Hathaway Homes and Ship Fund Properties in Scottsdale, Arizona. Friday morning market chat. We're going to talk about residential, we're going to talk about commercial, and we're going to talk about the economy a little bit. First of all, we always start with inventory. Inventory's down. 14 out of the last 15 weeks, single-family detached inventory is down. So, hey, Grandma Debbie. Scottsdale. We are back down to September 2024 levels. 1,170 single-family detached homes for sale. So we had a lot of properties come off the market at the beginning of the summer. We're starting to see them come on. I think in my hot sheet this morning, we saw like 6 or 7 coming soon listings. So those will be back on the market. We're starting to see, and through August, through November, we'll start seeing that inventory. Historically, we do. We'll start seeing that inventory build back up a little bit. And hopefully the sellers learned a lesson that you can't overprice a property. But we'll see. This week nationwide, we had pending home sales down 0.4% in July. Month over month, nationwide. But if you look at year over year, it was up 0.7%. The media forgets to tack on that second part that was up higher than last year. And in the West, it was pending home sales was up 3.7% for the month of July. They also noted that there was a 15% of pending contracts canceled in July. I'm not sure if I believe that number. Yes, we are seeing quite a few cancellations, but still 15%, and that data came from Redfin. Remember, Redfin came out with that gap between buyers and sellers that was proven false. They got a lot of clicks. Congrats to them. Kudos to them for putting that article out there and getting clicks. But their method was pretty much disproven as prices went up. So anyway, I'll take that number with a grain of salt. But we are seeing some cancellations. That's where the experience of your agent works in. I'm pretty micromanaging, I guess. I like to really. I've got a couple deals now that, they're kind of in that quiet stage. We're going to close in about 3 weeks, but we've been through the appraisal. We've been through the inspection process. Now we've just got the title companies doing their work, the lenders doing their work. Lenders out of Michigan, I don't quite know. I got to give them a call today and check in, but your agent really has to stay on top of the process. Even though it looks like nothing's going on, your agent's involved, and they've got to be on top of it. Make sure that gets to closing, because my sellers are already packing and they're heading out. So if that, we want to make sure that deal closes. So anyway, be careful what parameters you're using, like that Redfin article. You can pull up throughout the week as I'm just jot down notes as I read different articles for these Friday Market Chat Live. I'll read 7 different articles and I'll get 7 different outcomes, 7 different views. So you got to really pay attention. Like I always say, each neighborhood is different, little market to it, little synchronicities and things. So you've got to really be detailed. It's especially now, there's quite a difference. You cannot just read a headline or make a general statement that real estate's good, real estate's bad. It really depends. Are you buying? Are you selling? Are you in this zip code? What's your price level? There's so much differentiation, I guess, between deals. And I always say every deal is different, and working through those just comes from experience. Every August, we usually have an increase in sold dollar per square foot for single family in the Scottsdale area. August, September, October. Prices start going. People are coming back. I think the snowbirds are back kind of early. It's been busy around this year. This past few weeks. So weather's been great. So had a fun dust storm the other day. I hope you all saw that. Those are always neat. Coming from the East Coast, it's kind of like a blizzard with real fine dust. But they're always neat to see. But anyway, when you price your home, like I said, with all these listings coming back on the market, you got to price it. You have to price it right. And your house has to be in great condition. You can't just say, my house needs new floors, so my neighbor got $2 million. I'm going to ask 1.6 to get people interested, and they're going to want to do the floors. Nobody now wants to do any work. They want to move right in. Nobody wants to paint. Nobody, in the old days, I guess. I don't know. I'm kind of old, I guess, at 54. But everybody used to buy fixer-uppers, and that was kind of where you found the deals. Now everybody wants the Instagram, move-in ready, perfect properties. Actually, I toured one yesterday. I'm going to do a post later. Beautiful property, beautiful. I don't know about their price. They're a little bit high. But what I wanted to mention is every house around is being knocked down. It's being scraped and rebuilt. So even though the purchase price may be $5 million, you're a little bit ahead of the market, all these other properties coming up are going to be 6-7 million. So you get into the neighborhood early, good quality build. So, there's a lot there. I don't know who's calling that phone. That phone is a landline that never rings, so that's interesting. But we'll let that ring in the background. Anyway, price your home right. And if you're a buyer, now's the time to negotiate. As these come on, we can see which homes were taken off and they're going to be coming back on. Give us a call, sit down, let's see, what are you looking for? Let's go see 20 different houses so I can get an idea of what you're looking for. The better I know what you're looking for, the better I can call up the house down the street and say, hey, do you want to sell? I've got a buyer for it. So that's where you're going to find your deals these days. Be careful. There's a lot of fraud out there. I read something the other day. A barber, not that I've been to a barber in a long time, but a barber in the state of Arizona, to get a barber's license requires 1,200 hours of education to become a barber in the state of Arizona. In the state of Arizona, to get your real estate license, you need 90 hours of education. Wow, that's shocking to me. You can get your hair cut, you need 1,200 hours of education. To sell your largest investment, you need 90 hours. So know who you're working with, please. There's a lot of fraud out there, so please be careful. Twice this week, I saw sellers get taken advantage of. One, I went on a listing appointment about 8 months ago. They wanted 1.3. I said, you're worth 1.1, and they just got it expired. They got it under contract for under $1 million. I think it's like $950. So, I can't say I told you so. And actually, they called me to say, Mike, you were right. So, I have a fiduciary duty, and an ethical practice, I guess you would say. I don't want to step on anybody else's toes, but I can only do what I can do. And if you believe me, great. If you don't, that's great too. But I thought it was interesting that he called and said you were right. So I wish them well. They're an older couple, so I feel bad for them, but it is what it is. So anyway, pay attention to the agent you're working with. And when you're buying or selling real estate, you're building your team. It's like being treated for, I don't want to say cancer, but if you're treating for an illness, you're building your team of physicians. Just like if you're buying or selling a house or a commercial property, you're building your team, your realtor, your lender, your title company, your inspector. And that's where experience and network comes in handy. So anyway, we better move on to commercial. Big deals are happening. The smaller mom and pop deals, those are a little tough. The lenders don't really want to take on the risk in the commercial market now, unless you are an end user. If you're a small practice, small business owner, lenders, then there's money to take. Then there's money available to buy your building. But a lot of big stuff going on. Pay attention to what's going on around you. Storage units, and I thought Scottsdale had enough luxury car storage places, but there's 2 more in the zoning and planning now. So they get big bucks for those. So storage units are always hot. Mom and pop strip malls are always hot. And now I'm starting to see medical offices. The physicians with the small practice, they're retiring, selling the building, and those are becoming available. And that's where we teach. That's kind of our bread and butter too, besides the $1 million to $2 million single family, but teaching small business owners to own the real estate. Give us a call. 100% bonus depreciation is huge. I can't say that enough. Pay attention to what's going on in your neighborhood. Around the TSMC factory up in the northwest, there's a lot of activity going on there. In the commercial market, Buckeyes rezoning 2,000 acres, putting a big retail center as the big communities are spreading along I-10 out there to the west. And sat in the Scottsdale Area Association of Realtors commercial forum the other day, and some representatives from SRP, Salt River Project, spoke, and they were talking. They provide power and water to the valley. There's APS and there's SRP. Those are the two big ones. There's some smaller ones too, but everybody talks about this developing in water. Did you know that last year SRP dumped enough water back into the ground? They had excess water in the reserves. They dumped enough water back in the ground to supply 1 million homes with water. So there's plenty of water. We get the water from the snowpack. They've been in business 123 years, so they know how to find water in the desert. They know how to survive. What I did find interesting, they expect to double their power capacity in the next 10 years from all the data centers and all the industrial growth on the outskirts. So 123 years to get where they are today. In the next 10 years, they expect to double their power. So interesting. She said, power is the new water that people are keeping an eye on. And so commercial, it's rolling. It's a little tougher just because of the lending, but things are happening there. The economy. We had personal consumption expenditure this morning as expected. And remember, I always say, everybody's looking for these September rate cuts. The Fed funds rate is not your mortgage rate and has very little to do with it in a roundabout way. But Fed funds rate is an overnight lending rate. Built into the markets right now is a 25 basis point cut. But I think that's just being pressured from the economy. There's a lot of pressure on Jerome Powell and them to cut rates. But we had personal consumption expenditures this morning, as expected, and core inflation up 2.9%. GDP yesterday, solid, up 3.3%. That's gross domestic product. That's the value of all goods and services in the United States. Up 3.3%. The Fed has two jobs, maximum employment and price stability. Kind of where we are. They're doing their job. So, the media and stuff, they like to paint doom and gloom, and you know where I sit politically. But that doesn't matter. And, I don't quite understand why everybody's counting this. Rate cuts are exactly what you want to not do. Rate cuts are there to boost the economy. If the economy is good, leave it alone. But everybody is putting pressure on them. So we'll see. Anyway, it doesn't really matter to you and I. 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 30 years out. Your mortgage is 30 years. Fed funds rate is overnight lending rate. Look more at the 10-year yield. You'll hear about the yield curve. Yield curve has been steepening. The last 6 months of 2024, it was inverted. That means that you would earn a higher return on your money lending it to the U.S. government for 2 years than you would for 10 years. You should be rewarded for lending for 10 years because you're taking on more risk. I hope that makes sense. But anyway, the 2-year, 10-year yield curve is pretty steep. There's about a 60 basis point difference. Back in the 80s, we had 200 basis point difference. So again, it's all perspective. Like people look at interest rates. They think interest rates are high right now. Historically, they're pretty good. What's the 30-year fixed mortgage rate historically is near 7%. We're 6.5% now. Down maybe about 10 basis points from last Friday's close. We're down 10 basis points. On a $500,000 property, I calculated out the other day, that's $35 savings. If $35 is going to make or break you, then you shouldn't be buying a house. On $1 million, it was $65. So that's 10 basis points. So don't pay attention to all the noise and the headlines. I talked to a friend of ours over at UTech. I was asking because, I am a small business. And a lot of what I do is, I have to market my business. So I asked him, I said, where does ChatGPT and AI, are they really getting their information and facts from Reddit? And who actually checks on Reddit? He says, yeah, that's where the Google searches and things are coming from. So anyway, pay attention to what's online. Where is the information? What's the source of the information? And, just get to know who you're working with. We had a thing back in the banking and trading industry. Know your customer. Know who you're working with. And they were pretty tough on that. And the same thing in real estate. Know who you're working with. That's why I do these lives. Hopefully you get to know me a little bit better. I get to know you if we have a conversation. But it's just know who you're doing business with. It's just, it's become a crazy world. A client of mine looking for a property up in Washington, which reminds me, we have network all over the country. We're going to have a listing up in North Toronto coming soon, hopefully. So anyway, work all over the country. We have a network of agents we work with. But this client was ready to make an offer on a property in Washington State. They had a family member go look at it. Totally misrepresented of the property, not the property. The pictures were pretty. It looked beautiful. Someone got there in real life and saw it, and it wasn't that. So thankfully, they didn't make an offer. They knew who they were working with. But anyway, these are here to help you educate, facilitate, advise. That's my job. Get you where you want to be. We have a big network to work with, and if I can help you buy or sell residential, commercial. We do more of a specific deal. We don't work on a big volume. We believe in the relationships and the connections we make, the lifelong. I want to be here to help you, your grandkids, your family and friends with their transactions, whether it's residential, commercial, land, investment property, however we can help, and always just pick up the phone and call. There's a lot of texting and stuff gets mixed, a lot of tone. Pick up the phone. Let's have a 1-minute conversation and see if we can help you out. If we can't, we'll point you in the right direction. So anyway, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Have a great day. Be smart, be safe, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.